willing to bet that when you look at this build, you think the player fell asleep during character creation.
It's a bit goofy.
Innovations made by players have been the main driving force behind the biggest meta shifts in the entire history of the game, and today I want to highlight one of the most important, the implementation of the move Bite. There's actually a fair bit of debate on which guilds can take credit for pioneering this move, but there's no question that one of the first to really perfect it, to the point of being meta-defining, were none other than the Sharks. And since then, they've been holding on to that top spot tighter than Ice Climber players hold onto a wobbling victim. They've been extremely relevant in every expansion since the Silurian, something very few guilds can claim. So today I'll go over the tier list of the Sharks, and highlight the main attributes and abilities which have made them such fearsome builds. Overall, Sharks are at a pretty good spot in the meta, averaging around B tier. The main benefits of playing a Shark build include high mobility, high damage, and most importantly, the ability to sense any player near you due to special abilities like Blood Sense and Electroreception.
I think Sharks are super OP, right? They've been around for so many years. It must mean they're doing something right. They're doing something correct.
Main drawbacks include lacking Swim Bladder, an ability which allows the user to control their buoyancy at will, and also lacking Gill Flaps. Gill Flaps passively regenerate stamina, and is an ability unique to bony fish, so sharks can only regenerate stamina if they're moving. Now let's talk about individual shark builds. As always, we'll start from the bottom of the tier list and work our way up. In bottom tier, we have nothing.
Yes! I knew it! Sharks are too cool to be in F tier.
There are genuinely no shark builds I could justify as being bottom tier. Most sharks don't deviate too far from the base shark concept, which is good because it's a great guide for success. With that said, not all sharks are created equal, and in D tier we have two builds which don't really capitalize on any of the benefits of the shark class. First is the nurse shark. Low mobility, sedentary playstyle, and a really weak bite.
Oh, that's them from the front? God, I already watched a shark video by Casual Geographic and found that they were sort of cute, and, you know, I have no idea what this picture is, but it sort of looks cute.
Instead of abusing the powerful kit available for shark classes, nurse sharks rummage around the ocean floor looking for easy XP. However, they do have the strongest suction force of any fish, and since they don't have many terrible matchups, they're definitely no F tier.
They also look interesting, especially just like the full body view, they look pretty cool.
Second in D tier we have the saw shark. Saw shark players, what are you doing?
They look so iconic. What do you mean? Look, visuals and creativity give them like an A tier, but then maybe their abilities suck.
Teeth are some of the best weapons in the game, and the only drawback to using them is that breaking them can ruin your playthrough. But sharks have replaceable teeth, so that weakness is completely nullified. So why did you opt for this goofy, cumbersome, impractical weapon setup? Swinging that thing around uses way too much stamina for what it nets you, and isn't very useful for defending yourself.
It's actually insane to me now that I look at it. Oh, this is a sawfish, not a shark, but the idea is the same. Couldn't find any footage of a saw shark. Gotcha. It is insane to me that this type of animal just exists, you know? Now that I think about it. Just has a freaking saw on his face. Like, what? How is any of this real? We live in a simulation, guys.
Whatever, you do you, I guess. In C tier, we've got all the sharks that decided they'd rather AFK their entire game instead of making use of the best tools available to sharks. This includes the basking shark, whale shark, and any other shark who thought filter feeding was a better idea than being a swimming doom machine. Yes, it may be easy if you make it to the late game, but without good weapons and low mobility, the majority of your playthrough is a huge risk, with mobile fish players like the marlin and sailfish having no problem taking you out. Now we're in B tier, and we're almost to the shark builds who know how sharks are meant to be played. Almost. But first, we've got two more unorthodox builds. Some of my personal favorites, actually. The first is a shark who decided that, despite being one of the smallest of its kind, it would attack the largest builds in the game. The cookie cutter shark. Cookie cutter sharks are unorthodox in that instead of going for the predator playstyle, they function as a parasite. They simply latch onto a whale or other massive player, and by twisting themselves back and forth, they steal a cookie-shaped bite right off.
Whoa.
This doesn't do much damage to players, but interestingly, this build was a secret among the Shark Guild, up until a few cookie cutter players accidentally attacked human submarines.
I love that they named him Cookie Cutter, and what they do is bite, like, chunks out of their enemies. Like, round chunks. That is so Like, I don't know. I think it's kind of genius.
and actually caused their sonar to malfunction. This was during the Cold War, so the Russians and Americans assumed that the other was somehow sabotaging their submarines.
It was
Until
sharks.
eventually a Soviet sub surfaced with a shark player still lashed on.
That is so funny. They were like, oh, it's our enemy. And in reality, there's just a shark sucking on your freaking submarine.
In B+ tier, we have a shark which uses one of the only AoE stun moves seen in the entire game, the thresher shark. Attacking a school of fish is difficult, and due to their advanced evasion and diversion tactics, you have to be fast, lucky, or clever in order to even catch a single fish. That is, unless you can hit them with a flashbang, which is
Oh.
essentially what thresher sharks do. Thresher sharks have tails as long as the rest of their body,
Yeah, the tails are so cool.
and they use them as a whip, creating shockwaves which stun small groups of fish, negating their normally excellent evasion abilities. They do all of this without deviating too far from the great base stats of the shark build, so they retain decent mobility and attack power while wielding this weapon.
Hi guys. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.
In A tier, we finally get to those famous core shark builds everyone knows, loves, and fears. It's hard to rank these in relation to each other because they're all just so darn great. We'll start with the tiger sharks. Tiger sharks have higher stealth than most of the well-known shark builds.
And look at that silhouette. That silhouette is what you think of when you think shark. I think it's freaking beautiful. They say this for VTubers, like you gotta have a cool silhouette. You gotta be recognizable. Look at that silhouette. Look at that recognizability. If this was a VTuber, it would have great design.
And also have uniquely shaped teeth that make them more effective at cutting through armor and bone. Similar to actual tigers, the main strategy of a tiger shark is to get close to its target with stealth, and then use a quick burst of speed to snatch it before it can react. On the opposite end of the spectrum from this strategy, we have the mako shark, which has the highest mobility of all the sharks, and uses this to chase down its targets. This playstyle requires a lot of stamina, so this build breaks the mold and opts for warm blood instead of being cold-blooded like most other fish. This gives the mako shark the benefits of fast stamina regeneration, allowing it to keep up a pursuit longer than most other hunters. Since this speed comes at a cost to size, it doesn't quite have the monstrous weight advantage over its targets, and so mako players need to be careful and not get too greedy. The ocean's other premier speed demons, the swordfish and marlin, can be tough matchups for them. At the top of A tier, we have the bull shark, which has two unique and powerful abilities. The first is that they have the highest bite force of any shark, meaning that even though they have pretty average teeth in terms of slicing and cutting utility, they can still deliver an extremely potent bite.
Oh,
The second ability
sorry.
is that
Oh, someone's being bitten in the leg in that footage. Oh, no.
bull sharks can enter freshwater servers without receiving the energy sapping and damaging debuff that obligate saltwater builds do. This allows them to travel into rivers and streams where they have no real competition.
I would be so terrified if I saw that in a river or a stream, I'm not gonna lie.
This makes bull sharks the best build for griefing low-level players. And judging by the bull shark's reputation for being the most aggressive shark, it's clear that this is exactly the type of player that this build attracts.
Oh.
And here we are, the head honchos of the Shark Guild. There's two builds here that occupy low S tier, and honestly I can't place one above the other, they're both just awesome. What makes them so excellent is how well they use their tracking abilities, blood sense, and electroreception. The great white shark is no doubt the most feared ocean build in the current meta, and
yeah.
the closest thing to the god tier megalodon still in existence. They pretty much just take everything that makes sharks so strong and push all of those things to their limit. They don't have as high bite damage as the tiger or bull shark, but the force of a great white's charge attack slamming into their target more than makes up for it,
And they're so iconic.
and usually takes the stock no problem. Hunting seal players is difficult because they're clever and try to avoid putting themselves at risk when they don't need to. This is why the great white's ability to see above water is so crucial, because they can see
Oh.
which islands and reefs their targets are hiding on and camp them out. Their blood sense ability is through the roof, and their electroreception ability is quite polished as well, but nowhere near to the extent of the last build on my list, the hammerhead. Now, if you aren't a hammerhead player, I'm willing to bet that when you look at this build, you think the player fell asleep during character creation.
It looks it's a bit goofy. Yeah, I'm being nice. He's a little bit goofy looking. He's a lot goofy looking.
And accidentally set eye width to the max. But if you think this option is purely aesthetic and not intentional, you couldn't be more wrong. Hammerheads have the best, most well-optimized sensory abilities in the game. They have full panoramic vision and have binocular eyesight
Oh wow.
ahead and behind them. which gives them a massive accuracy bonus on the attack.
Okay, but look at him. He looks derpy. He looks very derpy. This is like, this gives me the same feeling as that saw shark. I just look at it and I'm like, how the hell did that thing grow like that, you know? How did this happen? Like, it's no doubt really cool and interesting, but just looking at it is kind of derpy.
And a huge evasion bonus if they're being chased. With the chemo and electroreceptors on the front of their face, they essentially have 3D smell and 3D electroreception, putting their spatial awareness almost as high as dolphins and bats. Their snout shape also lets them turn on a dime, which makes it so their attacks almost never miss. Furthermore, while they don't hunt together, they do travel in schools, providing safety in numbers and causing an intimidation debuff on pretty much the entire surrounding area. So that's the tier list for the sharks. As you can see, they're an amazing class with a lot of useful abilities and strengths to play around with. They have only a few bad mashups like dolphins, orcas, and a few other top tier fish like swordfish and marlin.
That was really cool. I think my favorite was... I like the interesting looking one, like the one with the saw or the hammerhead for their visuals. I like those. But one that I for some reason can't seem to forget is the one with the super long tail that just whips things. I just think that one's kind of neat, you know? But overall, I mean, we all knew sharks were great. They're goated. They've been around for forever. Their build clearly works. They're awesome.